I used to think love meant sacrifice. When the doctor said early onset Alzheimer's at Mom's routine checkup, everything blurred. She was only 65. Sharp one day, and the next, she couldn't remember how to make her favorite soup or where she put her keys. At first, we laughed it off, little slips. But deep down, I knew. I had a job I loved at the local arts center. A small but cozy apartment with slanted floors, drafty windows, and a wall full of poems and paint. My friends were the kind of people who read Rilke over wine and cried at open mics. That life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Still, when Mom forgot how to turn off the stove and began calling me the nice lady, I packed my things, left my lease, and moved back into the house I never thought I'd return to. I told myself it was temporary. Rachel, my older sister, made promises. "I'll help when I can," she said over Bluetooth, probably while pulling into another spa appointment. She visited once, Thanksgiving. Showed up with a store-bought pie, took a smiling photo with Mom, and posted it with the hashtag #FamilyFirst before leaving before dessert. That was Rachel in a nutshell, present in pixels, absent in reality. Meanwhile, I took over. I managed the meds, the doctor visits, the insurance, the emotional landmines. I coaxed Mom through daily routines, brushed her hair when she forgot how, and held her hand during nighttime terrors. I cleaned accidents, cooked meals, and argued with Medicaid reps until my voice cracked. Hospice nurses came and went, but I was the constant. Some nights, I wept silently in the laundry room, biting my sleeve so Mom wouldn't hear. Some mornings, I watched the sun rise through the smudged kitchen window and had to remind myself, inhale, exhale. You're still here. I believed showing up mattered. I believed love meant staying. Turns out, I was wrong. It happened on a Tuesday. Cloudy skies. A soft drizzle like the world was sighing. I had just picked up Mom's prescriptions, plus lemon pudding cups she used to love, and turned into our driveway. That's when I saw it. A for sale sign on the lawn. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But then I saw them, 2 women in sharp blazers and a man with a clipboard standing on the porch. Strangers. Talking like they belonged there. I parked and stepped out slowly, still holding the pharmacy bag. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice tight. The taller woman looked up, puzzled. "Oh, you must be the tenant." I blinked. "The what?" "This property was recently sold," she said, flipping through her clipboard. "We're here on behalf of the buyers." "No," I said, my mouth going dry. "There's no sale. This is my house. My mother's house." She tilted her head with a kind of bored sympathy. "You'll need to speak with the listed seller." I pushed past them and into the house. It was stripped. The sofa was gone. The dining chairs. The TV. In the hallway, black garbage bags were piled like rubble, my clothes, my books, Mom's photo albums. Her life, my life, stuffed into plastic like we were nothing. I checked my phone. No missed calls. No texts. I dialed Rachel. Voicemail. I texted her. "Did you sell the house? Where is Mom? What did you do?" An hour later, I got her reply. "You were never on the deed. It's done. Mom's in a private facility now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Just like that. She moved Mom, sold the house, dumped my life into trash bags, and acted like I was the one causing trouble. I stood in that empty hallway, heart pounding in my ears, and realized something cold and crystal clear. Rachel hadn't just betrayed me. She'd erased me. But she didn't know me as well as she thought. I'm not the kind of woman who goes quietly. I don't yell. I don't scream. I build. She made a mistake thinking I'd just disappear. Because while she was busy posting filters and forging signatures, I was taking notes. And I would find everything she did wrong. I didn't walk inside. I stormed. Shoving past the realtors like a ghost no one saw coming, I crossed the threshold with my heart hammering so loudly I could barely hear myself think. The first thing I noticed was the emptiness. The kitchen table, gone. The couch where Mom used to nap in the afternoons, vanished. The rug she loved, the family photos on the mantel, even the mug I always used for her tea, all gone. I stumbled into the hallway. Black garbage bags were piled like debris after a disaster, my books, my clothes, Mom's old albums stuffed inside carelessly, like someone couldn't wait to erase us. My laptop was missing. The artwork I'd done over the past few years, paintings I never showed anyone, gone. It looked like someone had rushed to clear the place out before anyone could ask questions. An eviction, only no one had the decency to tell me I was the one being evicted. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and called Rachel. Straight to voicemail. Of course. I texted her, fingers fumbling, heart racing. Did you sell the house? Where is Mom? What the hell did you do? 30 minutes passed. Nothing. I sat on the porch, numb, soaked from the drizzle, surrounded by everything I owned in black plastic. Then her reply finally came. You were never on the deed. It's done. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Mom's in a private facility now. It's better this way. Better. Better for who? Rachel had taken everything, without warning, without conversation, without dignity. The house. Our mother. My life. And all she left me with were garbage bags and silence. I found a cheap motel on the edge of town. The kind with buzzing neon signs and curtains that never quite close. The room smelled like bleach and stale cigarettes, but it had a lock on the door and a bed I could collapse onto. That was enough. I sat on the stiff chair by the window, clutching my phone, staring at Rachel's message like I could rewrite reality by rereading it. I wasn't angry yet. I was vacant. Like someone had scooped me out and left a body behind. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there with the hum of the fridge in my ears and questions clawing through my chest. How long had she been planning this? Did she ever intend to tell me? Did Mom even understand what was happening? But in the quiet hours between night and dawn, something inside me shifted. Grief morphed into something else. Not rage, not yet. But something colder. Focused. Like a blade slowly sharpening. Rachel had always been the star. The ambitious one. A licensed social worker, no less. Passionate about protecting vulnerable populations, her bio used to say. She wore that title like armor. But behind it? A woman who sold our mother's home without a word. Who dumped me onto the street like a stranger. I started replaying moments I'd brushed off. Like the woman from a Medicaid care agency who showed up at the house a few months ago, clipboard in hand, claiming to do a follow-up check on Mom's home care. She had Mom's name, our address. I'd assumed it was part of the hospice paperwork Rachel had helped file. But the thing was, Mom never had professional home care. I was the care. I cooked. Cleaned. Bathed her. Gave up my job, my apartment, my life. I never saw a single outside nurse except the hospice team in the final days, and even they stopped coming when Rachel claimed to be restructuring the plan. But if no one was providing the care, then why was Medicaid checking in? My hands trembled again, but this time, not from fear. I still had access to Mom's online Medicaid portal. I hadn't used it in months, but the credentials were saved in my email. I pulled out my laptop, the one thing I'd grabbed from the motel bag before heading out, and signed in. Her birthday. The name of our childhood dog. The security questions hadn't changed. It worked. And what I saw made my stomach turn. Dozens of invoices. Detailed claims filed under Mom's name for in-home care services, occupational therapy, personal aids. Billed weekly. even after Mom had been moved to the private facility. Thousands of dollars paid out to a Medicaid-funded home care agency. The same one from that nurse's clipboard. The name on the forms? Rachel Grayson. Her signature was there too, scanned and neat and precise. She had been billing the government for months, claiming to provide full-time care that I knew firsthand she never gave. All while I scrubbed floors and begged insurance reps for a break. She didn't just steal the house. She was committing fraud. I didn't call her. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because if Rachel thought I was just the soft sister who got stepped on, she had forgotten one important thing. I know how to wait. I know how to plan. And she had no idea what was coming. What I found made my stomach drop like a stone. Mom's Medicaid portal displayed a list of recent transactions, line after line of billing statements, each one more surreal than the last. Personal care visits. Home nurse evaluations. Occupational therapy sessions. All filed in the last 3 months. But Mom had been in a full-time care facility during that entire time. I knew that better than anyone. Which meant only one thing: Rachel was defrauding Medicaid. I stared at the screen in stunned silence. My jaw clenched, my palms went clammy. I felt like I was outside my own body, watching the betrayal unfold all over again, but this time in numbers, dates, and falsified service logs. My first instinct was to call her. To scream. To finally say everything I'd bottled up since she sold the house and dumped my life on the porch like it was trash. But I didn't. Rachel was slick. She had a talent for twisting things into something that sounded reasonable, something people wanted to believe. And I knew if I tipped her off too soon, she'd cover her tracks. She'd always been 5 steps ahead. So I bit my tongue and instead, I started building my case. I printed every billing record from the portal, 30 pages worth. Then I drove to the care facility where Mom now lived. I asked to speak with their director, a kind woman named Elaine, and explained I needed proof of when my mother was admitted. She pulled out Mom's intake documents. Signatures. Medical assessments. A log showing the exact day she was brought in, Rachel's name on the paperwork. A date that predated every single claim Rachel had filed for in-home care. I thanked Elaine and took copies. Back at the motel, I sat at the tiny desk and began organizing everything. Billing statements on one side, intake paperwork on the other. I matched dates with photos, time-stamped shots from the facility where Mom was eating in the common room, sitting in the garden, being visited by staff. And then I took it a step further. I pulled up Rachel's social media. She'd never stopped posting. There she was, grinning over brunch with friends. Lounging poolside in Cancun. Tagged in wine bars, yoga classes, and rooftop parties, on the same days she was allegedly caring for Mom full-time. Her timeline was a perfect counterweight to her lies. It was damning. And I had everything I needed. I started with an anonymous submission to the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. I uploaded the documents through their secure portal, labeled each section clearly, and attached a summary of what I believed Rachel had done. I didn't expect much, honestly. But 2 days later, I got a phone call. "Ms. Grayson," a calm voice said. "This is Investigator Collier with the Medicaid Fraud Task Force. Your file flagged several red alerts. Are you available to speak?" I closed my laptop slowly. "I am." We spoke for over an hour. I walked her through everything: my role as Mom's full-time caregiver, Rachel's sudden sale of the house, the abrupt move, the bogus medical claims. The investigator asked precise, detailed questions. She didn't seem surprised. "What you're describing," she said, "is serious. Potentially criminal. Are you willing to testify if it comes to that?" I didn't even hesitate. "Yes. Absolutely." She thanked me, said they'd be in touch, and that was that. It took 4 weeks. I was sitting in a quiet cafe downtown when my phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. I answered it with a tentative hello. Ms. Grayson? This is Detective Rollins, Fraud Investigations. I wanted to inform you that Rachel Grayson is now the subject of a formal criminal case. We've gathered enough corroborating evidence to move forward. I nearly dropped the phone. He continued. There are fabricated care logs, fake nurse sign-ins, and direct deposit records showing Medicaid reimbursements flowing straight into her personal account. He paused. You did the right thing coming forward. A week later, I got the news in full. Rachel had been arrested at her home. A neighbor saw it happen, told me later that two plainclothes officers knocked on her front door just after 7 a.m. She answered in a silk robe, freshly made coffee in one hand, and they cuffed her right there on the doorstep. The local newspaper printed a small piece. Local social worker charged with elder fraud, mother listed as victim. There was even a mugshot. Rachel, in one of her signature designer blazers, her eyes puffy, lips pressed into a flat line. Her expression looked less like fear and more like disbelief. She had always been so sure of herself. So careful about the image she curated. But no hashtag could save her from this. No filter could hide the truth now. And for the first time since all of this began, I finally exhaled. With the criminal investigation underway, I took the next step. I hired an attorney and filed a civil suit challenging the sale of the house. Rachel had claimed she held power of attorney, but the documents she used were riddled with problems. One stood out, a medical competency release supposedly signed by Mom just 2 weeks before the sale. I knew for a fact she wasn't capable of making toast at that point, let alone signing legal contracts. My lawyer gathered medical records, therapist notes, and facility intake evaluations. We showed that Mom hadn't been of sound mind for months before those papers were filed. That Rachel had forged or manipulated the documents to gain control over property that legally should have been protected. It was slow. There were hearings. Objections. Delays. But I sat through every one. And we won. The judge ruled the sale null and void. The deed was transferred back to Mom's name. Every penny Rachel had profited from the deal, every dime from that quiet, underhanded betrayal, was frozen under a court order. Because Rachel was now a criminal defendant, she couldn't touch any of it. Her license to practice as a social worker had been suspended. Her reputation was in shambles. And her carefully curated life, designer blazers, panel speaking gigs, the whole illusion had crumbled. She didn't have the resources to fight me. Not anymore. Shortly after the ruling, I was named trustee of the estate. For the first time in years, I had power, not out of greed, not to control, but to do what was right. The first thing I did was settle every outstanding medical bill in Mom's name. Then I arranged for her to be transferred to a private memory care facility by the lake, clean air, peaceful gardens, trained staff who didn't just treat her as a body in a bed, but as a person with dignity still clinging to her name. And then, for the first time in years, I focused on myself. I didn't move back into the house. Even though I had every legal right to reclaim it, I couldn't bring myself to live there. Too many memories lingered in those walls. Some warm, Mom humming in the kitchen. Others painful, Mom confused, crying, calling me stranger. And Rachel's fingerprints on the whole betrayal made it hard to breathe inside that space. But I did walk through it one last time. Alone. It was empty now, hollow and echoing. The walls were bare, the rooms stripped of their personality. Still, I stood in the kitchen, hand resting on the counter where I'd once made late-night tea while Mom paced the hallway in fear. I remembered brushing her hair in the mornings, helping her into sweaters when she forgot how sleeves worked. I stood there a long time. Then I whispered, "Thank you. I'm going now." And I walked out. I sold the house, on my terms. No shady paperwork, no hidden intentions. Clean, honest, final. The money didn't just go toward rent. It funded my rebirth. I moved into a loft downtown, right above a little bookstore. The windows were huge, and the light poured in every morning like an invitation. I pulled out my old easel and started painting again, abstracts, landscapes, memories I hadn't let myself process until then. I reapplied to the community arts center and was welcomed back. It felt surreal to be surrounded by color, laughter, and people who asked how I was, and really meant it. I even started a support group for caregivers. We met once a week in the art room, hands covered in paint, talking about the invisible toll of giving everything and getting almost nothing in return. That space, those people, helped me breathe again. As for Mom? She's safe. She gets daily walks, fresh flowers in her room, and music therapy. She hums along sometimes. Doesn't remember my name most days, but she holds my hand when I visit. That's enough. Rachel pled guilty. She took a deal, 18 months in a supervised facility, full restitution, permanent loss of her professional license. Her name won't appear on another care contract again. Not after what she did to our mother. To me. One afternoon, a letter arrived at my new address. No return name. Just a legal envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted control. I thought you were too weak to handle it. I stared at the page for a long time. And then I folded it in half and dropped it in the recycling bin without a word. Because here's what Rachel never understood. Yes, I was soft. I cried in laundry rooms and held the broken pieces together with duct tape and denial. I stayed when no one else did. I gave up things she wouldn't have even considered. But I didn't break. I bent. I waited. I watched. And when the time came, I didn't just survive. I reclaimed everything she tried to steal and built something better. Justice doesn't always explode in headlines or courtroom drama. Sometimes, it's quieter than anyone expects, a notarized ruling in your favor, the soft click of your own key in a new door, the stillness of a room that's finally yours. Rachel thought she'd erased me, that I'd fade without a fight. But I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. With every step forward, I reclaimed what she tried to steal. My voice. My power. My peace. She took everything. I took it back. And more. If you've made it this far, thank you, for listening, for holding space, for hearing the parts of my story that once felt too painful to speak aloud. I didn't share this for pity. I shared it because I know I'm not the only one. Maybe you've been the caregiver no one thanked. Maybe you've stood in front of a closed door, your heart in your throat, realizing someone you trusted didn't protect you, instead, they used you. If that's you, I see you. I am you. So, tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? What advice would you give to someone still sitting in that motel room, shocked and speechless, clutching their phone, staring at betrayal in plain text? Drop a comment below. Tell me what part of my story hit you hardest. Tell me how you took your power back. Or if you haven't yet, maybe this is your sign to start. And please, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Someone soft, someone stretched thin, someone who's been told they're too emotional or too forgiving. Because sometimes the quiet ones carry the fiercest storms. Here's what I learned: being soft doesn't make you weak. Giving everything doesn't make you naive. And walking away with your dignity intact? That's a kind of justice louder than any courtroom verdict. I took back my life. Now I hope you take back yours. I'd love to hear your story too.